So the French grape growers went to Persia, and the region in Persia is and still called Shiraz, Iran. They don't grow grapes there in large scale because it's Islamic and they don't drink alcohol, but they do still grow some grapes there. So they went to Shiraz, Persia, and they dug up the rootstock, and they brought that rootstock back to France. Thank you for laughing. They brought that rootstock back to France, and when they brought that Shiraz, remember they named the wines after the region, back to France, they pronounced the word Shiraz in French to be Syrah. Who calls it Shiraz? Argentinians, Chileans, South Africans, New Zealanders, Australians. You go 3.5, 4 miles north of here to Dariush. Dariush, that's his first name. By the way, he's a lovely, lovely man. He is a Persian. What does he grow at his winery, his Persian palace? He grows Shiraz. So if it says Shiraz, it's Shiraz. If it says Syrah, you call it Syrah. Now, it's the same thing as if this half of the table went to Ken Vigoria. Tell them how wonderful you are.
She says you are the best winemaker in the valley.
He is.
Maybe the planet, I think, was where it's
And one of the nicest men in the whole world. Yeah, he's great, yeah. And he always answers all my questions, and I pester the heck out of him.
She has a lot of, I've learned a lot from her.
Oh,
She's
Not as knowledge on it.
she's
She might have
great.
sold us, a couple of us, on the whole, bring the grapes in and do this thing.
Yeah.
So.
yep, he's the man to talk to.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
We can do it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Fantastic.
So,
Darius.
No, Shiraz, Syrah.
Syrah. Tomato.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it is exactly the same DNA. This half of the table goes to a restaurant, this half of the table goes to a restaurant. You're all ordering lamb. I'm sorry if you're vegetarians. Don't do that. Okay? Your lamb's from New Zealand, your lamb's from Colorado. Grew in different, it lived on different grass, lived in different climate. When it got to the restaurant, the chef made it to their own recipe. There's only one common denominator, it is lamb, but it's not going to taste the same. And that's the same with Shiraz and Syrah. It's exactly the same DNA, but it grew in different regions, and the winemaker made it differently. But it is the same DNA. Now this is actually a grafting. Mother Nature grafted, man grafted. Growing wild in the 1700s was Sauvignon Blanc in France. They probably hadn't even named it yet. Growing wild, I know they haven't named it, growing wild in France, really close to it, was Cabernet Franc. The buds come out, the flowers come out comes the pollen. Mother Nature blew the pollen from the Cabernet Franc to the Sauvignon Blanc. They had a baby and they called it Cabernet Sauvignon. So that's Mother Nature grafting, cross-pollinating.
Between a red and a white varietal.
Yep, because remember, all grape juice is clear. Yes. So, I can quit now.
Can I just move in with you guys here? Just take the cot and I'll just sit here and listen.
Actually, my husband would like it if he got rid of me. So.
She's gonna move in.
Yeah, that's fine.
You've got an extra bedroom.
This, though, is a grafting by man. A lot of stories, but the one that I've read enough times from Wikipedia to anything on Google is that a doctor of viticulture by the name of Dr. This is useless information, trust me. I share a lot of that. A doctor of viticulture by the name of Dr. Driff was out foraging in the 1800s and he came across a new varietal. By the way, you plant a grape seed in your backyard, a different grape will grow. You plant a Granny Smith apple seed in your backyard, you won't get a Granny Smith apple. You have to graft it. So he found a new grape varietal and he wanted to make it into a wine. And he made it into wine and said, it needs some. He started grafting different varietals onto it. By the way, he came to the Syrah varietal. He grafted onto his new grape that he had just found. And when it produced a wine, he called it after himself, Driff. If you go to Australia or France, and by the way, not a lot of this is produced on the planet. In fact, the main producers will be the US, France, and Australia. But in Australia and in France, they call it Driff. So if you want a bottle of this wine, and you're in those two places, you're going to ask for
It's mostly
Driff.
just blended, right? Petit Syrah?
100% Petit Syrah.
No, but I mean, most of the time it's just used as the juice for blending
You
with
know,
other things.
I find more and more, it's just like the Cab Franc, it
Yeah.
was a blending Merlot.
Yeah.
Malbec was a blending varietal. But
Yeah.
I think this is one of the finest wines we make. It's beautiful. And so we got these grapes, when I say we, the U.S., and somebody thought it was a Syrah. When they found out it wasn't the Syrah, but it was related to it, they called it Petite Syrah, to make a long story short. And it's S-I-R-A-H. The leaves are not small, the grapes are the same size as other grapes. Tiny wine grapes are small.